Achieving Organizational Focus, a nonprofit management tool from Manenson Consulting. The questions seem eternal. Why do so many organizations suffer from internal instability and a lack of focus on program outcomes? What investment can I make to generate organizational focus, stability, and efficacy? Organizations typically cycle through 4 phases of development. The entrepreneurial phase is characterized by a focus and zeal on developing the idea, the mission, and the programs, and finding the resources to deliver on them. Organizations in this phase are generally focused on what they are doing. The institutionalizing phase is characterized by the creation of systems and processes to support and manage the delivery of the mission or the program. Organizations in this phase are beginning to focus on implementation, or on how they do what they do. The mature phase features a concentration on perfecting a defined range of programs and on building sustainable infrastructure and systems of succession. Organizations in this phase are codifying their programs and approaches to ensure longevity. In the reorganizing phase, organizations are reimagining their missions, programs, and target audiences, and restructuring their organizations to accommodate their new focus. The pace of transition through these phases is unique to each organization. However, even as they age, many nonprofits remain in the entrepreneurial stage, never shifting their focus from what it is they are trying to accomplish to how they intend to accomplish it. A nonprofit organization can be thought of as a car heading down the road towards its destination or mission. However, achievement of the mission requires sharing the vision with others. Therefore, more than one person is often driving us to our goal. Strategic planning is a tool used to share the vision and point everyone in the same direction. However, strategic planning alone is not sufficient. Typically, organizations engage in strategic planning to build consensus on a 3 to 5 year vision and then move directly into implementation. The focus and momentum of strategic planning quickly dissipates as staff, volunteers, and boards set off in different directions to achieve the common vision, leaving open to individual interpretation crucial matters of how, roles, responsibility, pace of implementation, and measures of success. Each year's operation represents a program theory in action, a group of assumptions and hypotheses to be tested, a series of activities and events to be managed, and an approach to measuring individual, program, and organizational success to be applied. Each year priorities are implied by staffing allocations and budget resources. Yet rarely are these implicit understandings, which form the foundation of coordinated action, shared organization-wide. This common dynamic creates an uncertain organizational environment where critical questions go unanswered. Though there is general understanding of the mission and some elements of the program theory, there is little understanding about how the organization makes and communicates decisions, about what constitutes knowledge, or about how we gather and analyze knowledge to steer the vehicle. Little is known about individual roles in the process of program and organizational change. Because nonprofits often fail to operationalize the product and the processes that strategic planning generates, the strategic plan is shelved and the organization commences a gradual but steady loss of focus. At the very least, staff lose the thread of their efforts, opportunities are missed, and the mission drifts, rendering the achievement of intended outcomes impossible. At its worst, resources are squandered, role confusion occurs, infighting ensues, and the organization disintegrates. Nonprofit managers and funders can help their organizations move beyond the entrepreneurial phase and begin to create the infrastructure to build and maintain organizational focus, thus enhancing organizational performance and sustainability. How? By engaging them in operational planning. Engaging in operational planning begins the organizational shift from what to how and builds the infrastructure needed to create focus and generate results. Operational planning engages key internal audiences in a comprehensive process to 1. Identify focus by translating strategic goals into a specific one-year implementation plan containing timelines, roles, responsibilities, and measurable outcomes. And 2. Maintain focus by creating processes for planning, communications, evaluation, and organizational learning to manage the implementation of the annual plan. To identify the annual focus, management engages the expertise and experience of the staff and senior management to operationalize the strategic vision into a detailed one-year implementation plan. Through a series of individual and group meetings, program departments identify their mission, goals, measurable objectives, and learning agenda using the directions articulated in the strategic plan. The driving question is, what must this department achieve to both meet existing commitments and move the organization 1 year closer to its strategic goals? Once these goals and objectives have been shared and discussed at a facilitated organization-wide meeting, a deeper level of planning ensues in order to yield program and individual action plans containing action steps, task responsibilities, and primary timetables for completion. In addition to creating multiple venues for staff communications about the organization's work and priorities, this process of identifying focus creates a sortable document managers can use to right-size staffing and budget resources, anticipate workload, and manage and evaluate performance. How does the operational plan mesh with the strategic plan? This graphic represents the typical strategic planning process in which the board undertakes a significant scan of internal and external environments and the organization's capacity to create a 5-year vision. Major revisions to the plan generally occur in year 3 after sufficient time has passed to warrant a fundamental review of the environment and the mission. The product of strategic planning is usually a description of what the organization will achieve in the long-term future. The occasional strategic plan outlines annual goals and targets. Using the strategic plan goals, the operational plan creates an action plan for each program and department, all geared towards answering the question, what do we need to achieve this year to move the organization 1 year closer to its strategic plan goals? Each program plan consists of major objectives and action steps required to complete the objective. The program plans identify who is responsible for each task and the target date of completion. This information is sorted into individual work plans that can form the basis for job descriptions and individual performance evaluation. Operational planning achieves focus by tying all activity, from the individual up to the organizational level, to the strategic vision. Now that we've identified the organization's focus, how do we maintain that focus? By building an infrastructure to support it. On a parallel track with identifying focus, management works with the organization's staff and senior management to build the 4 main processes that support organizational focus: planning, communications, evaluation, and organizational learning. These processes often exist informally within an organization, but need to be made explicit to enhance understanding and performance. We achieve this by formally documenting the planning processes, creating and communicating the path of organizational decision-making regarding programs and resources. Documenting these processes answers the questions, where does legitimate strategic direction come from? How are decisions made, and what are the points of input? How does strategic direction change? What are the organization's priorities? Who is responsible for achieving specific goals? How and when can the implementation plan change? Formalizing communications and meeting protocols. Creating and calendaring a structure for routine communication of critical organizational information and feedback around implementation. Formalizing these processes answers the questions, How and when will the organization monitor the implementation of the plan? What are the standards and values that govern written and verbal communication? And how will various entities engaged in implementation stay connected and focused on the goals? Documenting evaluation processes, creating and calendaring the processes for reviewing organizational, program, and individual performance. Formalizing these processes answers the questions: how is success measured at the organization? How and when will performance be reviewed and measured? How are people and programs evaluated and by whom? Who is accountable to whom and for what? And what are the opportunities for feedback? Formalizing the organizational learning process, creating structures that enhance cross-team and organization-wide learning by explicitly identifying the learning agenda and calendaring opportunities to engage that agenda. Formalizing this process answers the questions: how does our organization learn from and improve upon its implementation efforts? What knowledge and experience does our organization need to acquire to effectively meet its existing mission? What knowledge and experience does our organization need to develop to provide new products and services? The products of the operational planning process are management tools and documents that communicate the organization's focus and keep it on track. They include an annual implementation plan and summary of organizational focus, which detail the targeted areas of organizational performance and learning, and provide a clear, concise description of the organization's priorities in the coming year. Departmental goals and objectives, including timelines and indicators of success. Detailed departmental action plans, including action steps, timelines, and responsibilities. Detailed individual work plans for updating job descriptions, creating personal development plans, and reviewing individual performance. An organizational calendar for managing key organizational events and processes. Written frameworks and protocols for planning, communications, evaluation, and organizational learning. And a master schedule of organizational activities for managing workload, individual and organizational performance, and meeting agendas. Organizations that have utilized operational planning have enhanced their capacity to communicate organizational priorities and achievements to funders and external audiences, increase programmatic coordination, anticipate peaks in organizational workload, manage external demands for programmatic expansion, properly align resources with program objectives, maintain board and staff focus on organizational objectives, develop organization-wide standards and expectations regarding performance and success, respond to emerging opportunities in their communities, increase programmatic quality through capturing lessons learned and innovation, and retain staff and avoid executive director burnout. Madison Consulting leverages 14 years of national experience in nonprofit and foundation management to help organizations build the infrastructure to generate organizational focus on the efficient and effective implementation of their strategic plan goals, to create the elements of sustainable organizational culture, and to build staff capacity to eliminate the need for future operational planning consulting services. The average operational planning engagement is 2 to 3 months in duration. Major activities would include reviewing existing organizational culture, processes, and materials, facilitating group and individual meetings with staff to establish annual goals and organizational processes, constructing and analyzing process and planning documents, assisting the development of an organizational budget, coaching and skills transference to key staff, and providing follow-up monitoring and technical assistance. Thank you for listening. We welcome your comments and questions, and we look forward to serving you.